What's going on, everybody? This is Brigham MMA back to talk about UFC Fight Night. Kamaru Usman versus Joaquin Buckley. Now, I do want to start off from the first fight of the card, so we're gonna do that right now. Just bear with me with the scroll down. All right, for the first fight of the card, Phil Rowe versus Angelusa. I'm going Phil Rowe. I think his range is definitely gonna be a problem for Lusa, who was struggling versus Brian Battle. Um, with that infamous clip of him complaining about an eye poke and not being able to see, and then wanting to fight after the fight, um, became a new contest. But yeah, I got Phil Rowe. Good range, good power, um, good grappling as well. He's a pretty standard welterweight. He's like on the cusp of being a solid, maybe like just outside the rankings fighter. But I think he's always just falling short of it. So he's obviously just not that good enough to be up there. But I got him over Angelusa. Next up on the card, we had Ricky Simone versus Charles Jourdain. This one is kind of tricky because I want to go Ricky Simon. Better resume. I'd say more suited to bantamweight already. Already established a very solid bantamweight. And Charles Jourdain, 1-3 in his last fights, only winning versus Victor Henry, that's a good win because he's considered he's like quote unquote prospect. But Ricky Simone is coming off of I think 2 wins. I believe I know he beat Basharat. He beat Basharat before. Hold on, wait. Let me click on his name, please. And he lost to. Oh, so they're both 1-3. They're both 1-3 in their last 3. But who do I rate more out of the 2 wins? I think out of the 2 wins, I rate Basharat more. I think Basharat's a more technical fighter than Victor Henry. A young prospect too, with good grappling, more well-rounded. Yeah, I think I just rate that a lot more. Yeah, I'm gonna go Ricky Simone, probably by decision or round round 3 submission or late round 2. All right, moving on to Cody Durden versus Jose Ochoa. I'm pretty unsure about Jose Ochoa. I didn't get to see his fight versus Kavanaugh, and I still haven't got the opportunity yet. But I know Cody Durden is pretty solid. Like he's coming off of a loss from Bruno Silva and Joshua Van prior to that. But I would say because he was beating Bruno Silva before he got dropped and hurt, and versus Van he got pretty shut down. So if I can remember correctly, I think Ochoa is more of a striker, I believe. Damn, I don't know if I can make this prediction for real. I think what I was trying to get at is that Durden's a solid vet. You know, it's gonna be difficult for somebody very fresh, somebody very new to MMA. Like it's gonna take someone of a lot of talent to beat him off rip. You know, with no prior build up to this level or to that level. And I'm gonna be watching this one though for sure. So I just gotta see how he move. But for now, I'm gonna go Cody Durden. Next up, we had Malcolm Mulmaker taking on Chris Moutinho, who was I think stepping up on short notice. Chris Moutinho is I think 5-0 regionally, and Malcolm Mulmaker is coming off of a win I think a couple cards ago over who did he beat? Who did he knock out? He knocked somebody out. Name was to my tongue. Cameron Simon. Yep. I think I'm gonna go with Malcolm Mulmaker. UFC matchmakers knew what they were doing with this one. They fed Chris Moutinho to Sean O'Malley on his rise. I think they signed him to fight Sean O'Malley, and then he got cut after he lost. And then I'm assuming they're trying to do the same thing with this one, trying to get a highlight KO from Malcolm Moolmaker. But low key guys, we're all gonna be rooting for Chris Moutinho. The comeback story of the legend Chris Moutinho. No, but on a serious note, I do think I'm going Wellmaker, and I am going by finish. He is very strong. He's very technical. He is very composed, striking, and he was obviously capable enough of beating a prospect at his similar level, and Cameron Simon. So I'm going Malcolm Waymaker by round 2 KO. Round 2 KO. Am I tripping? I feel like my brightness is so low. Yep. Oh my god. Do I even... Fuck. Oh, I don't know if that impacts you guys or if that's just for me. But moving on to Michael Chiesa versus Court McGee. I'm keeping this one short. I'm not going to waste no time on it. I'm going Michael Chiesa. Submission somewhere in the fight. I'm not going to say which round. This is very obviously Chiesa's retirement fight. Court McGee is like 1-4 or something like that, and fighting inactively, and he's also pretty old, right? It's only fair to match the old guys up with each other. So yeah, I'm going with Chiesa. And Paul Craig versus Rodolfo Bellato. This was moved from one of the other cards like 2 weeks ago. I forgot who I predicted for this fight. I think I went Bellato. No, that's not an impressive win. Not really a good win, or whatever that was. Paul Craig lost a nickel, but this was a pretty inactive fight. Got KO, got submitted. Good comp though. This is good comp. All three of these are good comp. Beat Munez. Lost to Walker. Good comp though. I'm going Paul Craig. And I think a lot of people are just choosing Bellato off of the idea that he can get a knockout. Now, I'm not too familiar with his grappling situation, but and you know what? And you know what though? Paul Craig doesn't really have the best defense either. But I feel like I think Paul Craig knows this is a must-win fight for him. Well, he's moving back up to light heavyweight too. Actually, no, that's good for him though. I'm gonna go with Paul Craig. Either by decision or early submission. Yeah. If it doesn't get it done early, it's gonna stall out to the bell. And then moving up to the main card, Alonzo Menifield versus Umar Sy. I'm going with Umar Sy. Alonzo Menifield has horrific striking technique, and he's coming off of a knockout loss at heavyweight, which I'm sure took off a lot of life from his career. So, and he also just hasn't been performing at any good level to how he was prior. So I'm gonna go with Umar Sy. He's very technical. He's a lot younger with power. And I really like how he moves in the octagon for light heavyweight. And I can trust that he can get this one done. Yeah. Moving on to Mansour Abdul Malik versus Cody Brundage. I don't remember who Abdul Malik beat. Klein, Todorovic. Ooh, 2 KOs. he can be hurt. He can be hurt. But Cody Brundage is also. I was just trying to see if if he's ever been knocked out before, because I think that would definitely impact my decision, and it definitely does. But Cody Brundage has looked all right. His win over Julian Marquez isn't that impressive and nothing great to look at, but I think he's very well rounded. You know what though? I think Malik is solid too though. I know the odds for this one are gonna be crazy uneven, because it's undefeated prospect versus Cody Brundage, and you know what? Saying that out loud, I'm definitely thinking undefeated prospect. Even though a lot of them have lost, in 2025, I think I can trust Abdul Malik to find a shot or be able to have made enough improvements in his time off to be able to beat a Cody Brundage. Now, this is some people's main event. Cody Garbrandt versus Raoni Barcelos. This kind of hurts me to say. I think we're going to go with Barcelos. Because I'm really trying to not be biased to Cody Garbrandt's legacy versus form currently in his career. Barcelos' best win absolutely has been his win over Talbot in recent time. Even facing... Oh, no, that's not... I'm not going to bring that up because that's nothing impressive. But also going to 3 rounds with Kyler Phillips, who is now at ranked bantamweight. And probably thinking Cody Garbrandt fought Figgy, right? A higher ranked bantamweight. But I just don't feel like this was a freebie, right? Let's be honest, this was a freebie. This one he got out grappled, which is what is concerning me, because of what Barcelos did to Talbot. I think something similar could happen to Figgy. I mean to Garbrandt in this fight, because it's not even like Figgy was using insane grappling or like super overwhelming grappling. It was just the position advantage he was getting off of like simple entries and such. I don't want to go too far down, because then we start getting into the legacy bias, right? But yeah, I think it's over for Garbrandt. I think he's just gonna be stuck fighting like the lower level bantamweights forever, and it's crazy of how like far he fell from grace. That's my dog. Sorry about that. But yeah, I'm going to go Barcelos by decision or submission somewhere in the fight. I would definitely bet on this double chance. And you know what? There's always that possibility Cody can get a KO. But I just think it's very unlikely. He was able to... Like that, you could have said the same thing for Payne Talbot. And maybe you can blame it on an experience. But I think if he's able to... dodge the striking exchanges with Talbot now, or at that stage, at that time, he could do so with Cody Garbrandt at this time. Moving on though to Edmund Shabazian versus Andre Petroski. This one just interesting because Petroski's on a 3-fight win streak. Shabazian I think is 2-1 in his last 3. Petroski having 3 straight wins over some solid comp. Budka, who Shabazian also beat by knockout. This one by decision. Fremd, I can't really say too much, but this is, a decision win are decision wins. Sometimes we have to look at decision wins as a means of they know how to win a fight. I would say Shabazian is definitely more talented. He's definitely the better striker. And, losing to GM3 by submission, there's no real shame in that. A lot of people have lost like that. But I think Petroski is going to try and expose the ground game of Shabazian still, and can compete with power on the feet, giving that risk. I think I'm gonna go Petrosky. I think he's gonna get a finish. And you know what's crazy? Before I was looking at all this, I was actually thinking of Shabazian. But I'm really trying not to let bias and like highlight reels get into my head, because sometimes you just gotta look at the Bilal's of the world. You know, if you're able to win a decision fight multiple times in a row, you're obviously doing something right. So, I'm taking Andre Petrosky. Next up, Namajunas versus Miranda Maverick. I'm gonna go with Rose. She is very experienced, very well-rounded, and I think it's a very uneven matchup to Miranda's Maverick. Very inexperienced still, very one-dimensional fighter who is obviously going to get very outclassed on the feet, and is, you know what, maybe she finds some success on the ground, but it's not going to last very long. And you know what, though, if she does get a submission win or anything, or a decision win of just controlling, dominant grappling, I would give my shout out to her. But I got Rose to decision, though, of course. And now for the main event, Kamaru Usman versus Joaquin Buckley. I'm going Joaquin Buckley, guys. I'm not wasting no time with that. In this stage of their career, Kamaru Usman's 0-3 in his last 3. Buckley's 3-0 his last 3. And I think a lot of my decision making here is Usman's age, not his skill level. I think just his body just isn't capable of holding out anymore. Like, his knees just look so fucking shot. And you know, I know everybody says this when we're talking about Usman now, but it's also because it's going to impact how he fights. How he looks physically is going to impact how he fights. And Buckley's like in the form of his life, looking like the most explosive, the fastest, the strongest he's ever been. And, you know, just opposite sides of the same coin right now. You know, Usman was being on legends that were coming out of their prime. Buckley's the new Usman coming in hungry, you know, and the power and the ability to at least, you know, I think Buckley should shoot takedowns on Usman. I think that would make the fight even easier for him. Bringing the fight to Usman, having him to defend, because I wouldn't really say he's a submission threat as much as a knockout threat. But even then, how much power can he really generate with like such trash knees now? Only so much. Only upper body rotation force. But yeah, so for Buckley, I think mixing in takedowns makes his fight even easier, and the power is what's going to finish the fight. And I got Buckley getting it done quick.